everybody who's here, I will have the questions for NFT Guru page open up to my left. So if you guys have anything to ask him during this chat, I'm sure we'll get to it. I'm sure he'd love to answer. But first, can you say something? Introduce yourself. I'll see if your mic levels.
Yeah, for sure. How's my mic sound right now? Do I sound okay for everyone?
First, better than Tin, that's for sure.
It must be the brand new mic I just got. But anyway, hello everyone. So I see we have a lot of people in the audience listening. I know that some people are probably some longtime MTTM fam, and we got a few new faces. So it's nice to see every single one of you. I am Guru. I'm known as Max. That's my real name, but a lot of people just call me Guru. I am the founder of MTTM. MTTM, funny enough, we weren't always a community and a guild like we were. Method to the Mythos actually used to be my old YouTube channel when I started making videos about Axie Infinity and NFT gaming. But I was convinced by my subscribers to make a Discord that organically grew into a very big community. And at a certain point in time, MTTM became so much more than just me. So I decided to separate my brand. I am now NFT Guru, and MTTM is the bustling community of NFT gamers and wonderful, heartfelt people. I know there's a lot of them here. Katev was a longtime member who ended up in the moderators team and actually pitched me on Sipher as well. So thank you for that, by the way, Katev. You definitely got me extra bullish on Sipher. And yeah, so now we're here. MTTM is a much larger community now. We are exploring a lot of games, but our foundation is in Axie Infinity. We are known not as a traditional guild where we run, primarily an internal scholarship operation, but we do actually work a lot more with investors. We have a giant managers association, and it's not external institutional funding, but a lot of it is private angel and just grassroots funding that we as investors have actually earned ourselves. And now we are utilizing in more of a DAO function to be able to go out and do things like building in a game like Sipher, such an awesome, interesting game that we're in.
So I think that's a fantastic introduction. Let's for a moment pretend that I know nothing about guilds. I'm brand new to this. What is the function of a guild? I'm brand new to a new P2E game, whether that's Axie or in the future Sipher or whatever game that is in the space now and in the next year, right? Mm-hmm. So I joined the game. A guild is telling me I should join them. What do I get from joining this guild? Or to be more specific, what should the players think they'll get from working with MTTM?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm going to tangent off a little bit here because I think there's 2 points to this question that need to be addressed. First things first is guilds in general. Guilds have different shapes. They have different forms. You can join guilds that will provide value in different ways, and you need to understand what you're looking for as an individual and look for that in particular. A traditional setup for a guild is primarily you have a group or an individual who is running the core team. And this core team consists of investors. It could be the primary managers, leadership figures in that space. And they're going to be the ones who are kind of leading the flow of that organization. It's like a small organization within the game. And what ends up happening here is that they now make a choice to go out and expand that and provide, ownership opportunities or involvement for other people who want to be part of a game that has a level of involvement that goes above a traditional retail investor. So if we look at this from step one, which is where a lot of people are at, a scholar, somebody who doesn't want to come in and spend a whole lot of money, maybe doesn't have money to spend, and they want to be part of a guild to give them opportunities to actually play a game or get involved with a play to earn ecosystem so that they can earn. You want to look for a guild that's going to provide that. Not every guild will provide that. There are some guilds out there that are not based on providing scholarships or providing that opportunity, but they are only based on investors, communicating, alpha, etc. That's not a guild for you. You want to look for a guild that's going to provide scholarship opportunities. And then when it comes down to that, you now have the next level, which would be an individual who's more of a retail investor. You want to get involved in a guild, not that's just going to provide scholarships to people, because that's not going to give value to you. If you're just a retail investor, you're a player. In this case, let's imagine that you come in, you bought maybe 3 Siphers, and you're planning on just rotating them all in your own personal experience. Well, you don't need to join a guild that's focused on providing scholarships. You're going to find a guild that has more players like you, maybe some leaders, thought leaders, or really successful investors in that space who are going to give you guidance, support, opportunity. And that's going to be what you focus on. So you're going to want to find a guild that has that outside of just a guild that, runs retweet giveaways to give people scholarships, etc. And then I think there's one level that goes beyond that, and that is the investor. Whether you're an institutional investor, maybe a large scale investor in this space, potentially you've done very well for yourself, and you want to get involved with people that are going to give you opportunity to get a much larger stake in the ecosystem overall. So you're going to want to find people who develop DAOs, treasuries, associations for you to be able to pool or utilize your funds with another group of very successful investors to go and do really big things in this space. The reason why I wanted to preface this is because you said, what do people get coming into MTTM? Well, we're a little unique. We have a full circle, actually. So initially in the beginning, it was primarily me and Abu Kassar and Dark Roamer. We didn't really have anybody else who was in. We were primarily funding everything. We were the ones who were providing alpha. We're known, at least in Axie Infinity, as very big breeders, investors, and managers, but we didn't have a whole lot more than that. And then we expanded it out to provide more of a DAO structure to our guild, where now we have an opportunity to not just get a player or a scholar involved, but we can actually get investors involved and start to pool our funds and do more. So when it comes down to MTTM in particular, we hit all of the verticals that an individual is going to be looking for in a guild. And that is providing value to anybody at any point in time in their career with any size of portfolio.
So so you've roughly categorized the investors as well as the don't have the capital to start playing. But that's the two use cases you mentioned just now. But let's say I'm someone who with 3 NFTs, right? I'm really into playing the game. Mm-hmm. What's the main benefit of me joining? Because I can play by myself. I can earn by myself. But is there a benefit to me joining a guild now? Or would I still benefit from being being partnered with a guild?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I say that based on experience and also talking to the organic way that we've developed as a guild. In the beginning, we didn't have the other verticals. I wasn't running scholarships when I first started MTTM, nor was I allowing investors to come in and pool money in a DAO. All I was doing was providing guidance, and a very large amount of it. It started with my videos, and then it turned into structuring the Discord, structuring our channels, information. If anybody here is in the MTTM Discord, I'm sure you guys have seen, there are times it can be a little overwhelming. We are set up to support one another, to provide guidance. And as a player, if you want to make the most out of this opportunity and you want to come in and not waste your time or make mistakes that someone else already has, and you would rather learn from the mistakes of another person, you can come in and you can utilize and access that information. And that is unbelievable value. You cannot get the same kind of, let's say, level of success, the same speed of success that comes from being able to learn from people who have made the mistakes that you are going to make. So as a player, I think you get the most value out of joining a guild because you don't really have to put any investment in. A lot of guilds these days, especially MTTM, we don't require you to come in and put any money down to get involved or get access to this. You come in, you fit. First off, make sure you're fit for your guild because at the end of the day, this is going to be your group, your community, your family, right? You want to see eye to eye. You want to have similar values. But if you do, and you can go in and get that guidance, communicate with people, get opportunities as well. Big thing, everyone. I come from business. Net worth is your network. That is a saying that is so true in this space. It's not about what you know half the time. It's who you know and how who you know will open up opportunities for you to become more of who you want to be. So hope that helps answer it. But I think players get the most value from guilds personally.
Yep. I see it. So it's like your own personal community that can help you get straight to the maximum efficiency and the best way of playing the game, right? Like the best meta, what's the most efficient way to go from a brand new player to someone that is super well versed in the game, right? No matter the game.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So let's speak a little bit about the investor side, right? Because you said that at first you didn't have it, and then now you've started taking in some investments and forming into a DAO, right? So exactly what do those funds do? Like, what do you do with those funds, right?
Yeah, well, that's also a very good question. And one thing I can say is that a lot of this is trust basis and also research focused. So for anybody here, be smart with your money. Don't go putting your money into DAOs thinking, hey, it's in a DAO, someone else is going to make me money with it. Make sure that your money is in the right place. Yeah. So not everybody who starts a DAO or runs a treasury knows what they're going to do. So make sure that you talk to people first. We actually do interviews before anybody gets involved in what we call our DAO. It's essentially a treasury right now. But how that goes and what the value comes from that primarily is in you being able to, as an individual, depending on your stake, maybe it's smaller, maybe it's larger, I don't know. But you get to get involved in things that start taking shape at a much higher level. I'm going to use Axie as an example because that's our foundation. And I'm sure there's a lot of people here who know it.
Yeah.
Axie Infinity has a pretty standardized form of investment opportunity. You come in and you can start by investing in Axies. Once you invest in Axies, they're at the moment relatively cheap. You can start to play, you can start earn tokens. You can then go to the next step, which is investing in scholarships. That allows you to create more teams. That brings you up to the next level of investment. You've scaled your portfolio. From there, you can either take a route of investing into collector Axies, a little bit more expensive. You could start investing in the tokens, staking them, etc. But then there are some higher level steps that come into play, such as investing in land, currently a floor of over 16,000 American dollars. That's a little out of reach for a lot of people. And that is just the floor. The regular land price right now is closer to about 50,000 American dollars. And that is very expensive. Most people could never imagine investing in something like that. But when you can get involved in a group of people who can pool their money to make larger investments like that and have fractionalized ownership, and this is a very important part about this, make sure that things are fractionalized correctly. On Ronin, you cannot have a DAO set up, which is a decentralized autonomous organization. So you cannot actually have a smart contract securing those funds. So that's why I said, again, it can be very trust basis. Make sure that you're not trusting the wrong people with your money. But let's say in Sipher, we have the ability to set up a DAO. You have it set up so that the amount of money that you put into that treasury, that pool, in proportion to the amount of money that is in that pool total, will be your stake of ownership on the assets. So that is a really big part as an investor for you to be involved in things that do end up requiring a lot bigger investment for you to go and purchase. And then, of course, you can go beyond that too, and you can start building organizations and projects, your own project, etc. The sky's the limit once you get started. Trust me.
I'm getting overwhelmed already. So when you're in a DAO and like you say, you look into purchases that have to be fractionalized. Do you get much direction as do you get, as a fractionalized owner of that, do you get much control over the direction? Is there a voting system, or how does it work right now? Or is it more like, I believe in this team and they can make but I get guaranteed income based on the percentage?
Well, that really depends. There isn't a clear-cut case for that. If you're involved in a traditional DAO, you will be given voting power according to your governance stake, which is how much of that pool you own. But you can also delegate that. So there are people who come in and say, hey, look, I'm hands off. I trust the people who are utilizing these funds. I know that they're going to do well with it. I want to have my portfolio grow up, and make sure, again, you understand the circumstances. Sometimes if you get involved in a DAO, there are buyout clauses. Sometimes you have to sell your stake to people, etc. But you come in, you can delegate your governance to someone and say, look, I trust this person. On the flip side, though, you can come in and be very involved. You could come in, you could own a governance stake. Let's say you come in and you invest and own 8% of the governance stake. Well, you have an 8% vote to sway the decision to utilize those funds to make a purchase. So when the DAO goes to make a purchase, let's say in this case, we go and buy some land, and we're deciding on what we want to buy, whether it be land, something else, or what kind of land we want to buy, we have to come together and we have to put a proposal out and we have to get voting on it. And we have to determine, based on majority, what we're going to do. So that would be how you do that. You can come in and you can get involved. But a lot of people, from what I've noticed actually, do like to delegate because they want to be hands off on it. They find a group of people they can trust, they delegate, and then they go from there and they just revisit it to see, hey, how are things going, right? Are my funds in the right place? Are we successful? If not, we got to make some decisions to change this.
Yeah. I think you very succinctly summed up the three verticals, right? You got the scholars, the managers, the investors, right? And they're all in a little circular flow that plays off one another, right? I'm actually curious if I'm someone that owns NFTs, right? And so think of me as an investor, right? Not money investor, but I own NFTs. I own a lot. I own 10. But I don't want to play. I just want my NFTs to go make money, Would MTTM be the kind of place where I can give my NFTs to you and you would manage them for me, and I would get a cutback, or is that not something you guys?
At the moment, not much. The only reason behind that is because that is very hard to logistically structure, at least in our
Right.
current verticals. However, that being said, I have seen plenty of people who have come in with that request, and we have been able to facilitate the relationship between them and a manager. Because you got to remember, when you have groups, our guild has over 5,000 people in it, thousands and thousands of scholars, etc. People can come in and see the opportunity. We can help bridge that. There are a lot of people looking for those opportunities. Us as a core team,
Right.
us as a central process, we don't take that kind because, to be honest with you, unless it's a massive investment, let's say, hundreds and hundreds of NFTs, ciphers, etc., it's not worth a group that already has a portfolio of, substantial value to be able
Of
to
course.
manage small amounts, right? So you won't find a lot
Yeah.
of guilds who will do that for you, but what you can find is people within a guild who are interested in partnering with you. And we've seen that happen plenty of times, and great relationships come out of it, actually.
And so is this something that's officially sanctioned by the guilds? Like, because I mean, from an outside perspective, right? To me, it feels like you're losing earnings if your managers work with someone else rather than your portfolio.
Technically, and that's why it would have to be a subjective circumstance. If somebody was to come in with a very large stake, it would be something that you as a guild would have to come together and determine. But you also have to determine whether that, logistical burden on top of your processes is worth it. A lot of the times people who come in and want to do something like, hey, I got a lot of NFTs, can I get them in your hands and you use them? At least in the sake of Axie, logistically, it is very, very burdening. You have a lot of work to do. Operations are very substantial. It takes a long time. Something like Sipher.
On the NFT owner or on the
person
manager?
managing. Yeah, for the manager themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, right? And you have to maintain that. And then there's valuation changes. Like, are you going to be who's going to hold the burden of value at the end of the day? How is the split going to work so that it works? Because you only have so much. Currently, you want to give at least 50%. I think the average right now is 60% of the earnings split to the scholar. And that only leaves 40% for you, the investor, and the manager to be able to determine who gets what, who determines how much you're going to earn of each, what kind of a workload does it take, etc. And that can be very hard to come to reason on. Some people are easygoing. Some people come in and be like, hey, I only want 10%. You're handling all the work. I just want to earn my money back on it. But a lot of people don't. From what I've experienced, it's not that easy. That being said, though, Sipher could have a completely different situation because from what I know, you only need one NFT so far as an individual to be able to interact. So that may, it may streamline the process and make it much easier to do something like that.
So just to give some alpha, today is supposed to be about you, but one of our big goals is to really streamline the process between scholar and manager and investor. Like, it should not be a laborious process, especially in this day and age, like people shouldn't have to be whipping out Excels and, just to record just to manage kind of stuff, right? So it is something we're looking at for sure.
That's awesome. Hey, we can, I know I talked to Tin about it before, but we can definitely help with that. One of the things we're well known for is specifically in Axie, we actually created our own proprietary ERP system because of just how much workload it was. So we in the core team, and there's a few people in here, I actually see some of your names who utilize this. We have a proprietary software called Cerebro that we use to essentially map and automate our entire process so that we're not sitting there for hours a day, breeding, setting up teams, etc. So that's one of the things I know I've talked to you guys before, but we're definitely able to help out with.
So this is why we have a community wallet and, a system to fund third-party projects.
You know it. Oh, and by the way, I see everybody saying it.
Yeah.
I am recording on my end, by the way, and have been from the beginning.
Thank you. Perfect.
No problem.
I usually do, but today I dropped the ball.
It's all good.
So what other P2Es are you in right now? Obviously, you're into Sipher. You're waiting for us to release it. And you're into Axie right now. Is there any other P2Es that you're currently looking at, or MTTM is currently looking at? Or for now, that's your two big ones?
Well, those are definitely my two big ones. I am hyper bullish on both Axie and Sipher. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. However, some other play to earns that we are looking at and we are also involved in. One of them is Guild of Guardians. It's actually one that's run by Ubisoft. Really interesting looking game, primarily a mobile platform. We weren't hyper bullish on this, but when we had an opportunity to get in and purchase some of the assets and knowing there's going to be a play to earn aspect to it, we decided to invest in it. Another one would be Thetan Arena, which is really, really hyped right now. It's all over the place. Got to be real with you. At the moment, it's still a little dry for me. I'm an ex-professional League of Legends player, so I'm sure you can imagine that my micro satisfaction is quite high. And a lot of play-to-earn games don't provide that yet. But that being said, there are a lot of other ones out there. Gala has done a lot as well. There's also Sandbox, though. As far as Sandbox goes right now, it's still up in the air. I feel like the play to earn aspect of it is
Sandbox isn't a game, is it? Like Sandbox is a hub.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's a hub, right? Yeah,
100%.
Like it's a virtual. It's awesome. I'm not dissing Sandbox, but it would be disingenuous to call it a game the same way like I don't call simulations on the PC of like locations like like it's for you to exist in a 3D space. But the gameplay is walking around looking at stuff, right?
Fair.
And to me, that's not gameplay.
Yeah, at least at the moment. I've heard there's things, I have one thing that we actually do quite often. And it's another value point on MTTM. So if you guys are interested in this, I'm here to shill my community and tell you why it's a good opportunity to be a part of us.
And that's why I invited you.
You know it. We actually do regular presentations on games and projects that come up in the space. Many of our local enthusiasts in MTTM will go out and they will explore and research projects and they will put together presentations and then do presentations for the community based on their findings. And they'll do it objectively. We don't want to come in here and just pump culture is not for us. Just so anybody here who just wants to come in and pump projects and make money and leave it, MTTM is not for you. We don't do that. We want to really get involved in things that we want to be a part of and we want to understand it. Because just as Tin says, and this is one reason why Tin and I are such good friends, we're not here to capitalize on this moment in time. We are here to drive the future and the revolution that's taking place in this industry as a whole. And the only way to do that is to do it correctly with our values in place. So we are very much perpetuators of that. We want to make sure that we get involved in something. We truly want to be involved. We support it, and it's worthy of our involvement. So it's a big thing about us. Just want to make sure that I filter that out because I know I've had people come in and say, hey, look, let's all go buy up the floor on this and, see the value rise and exit. I'm like, but what does that accomplish, right? So same thing as I said. We do. Hey, money is good, but at a certain point.
No, but I agree with you. Yeah, 100%.
We're all early, by the way. We're all going to make a bag. Don't worry about it. Money's coming, but it's how you make that money.
You think we're all early? I mean, people are catching up quick, but I guess right now I think it's early. I agree.
In the grand scheme of things, I think so. I do think that we've had a proof of concept bring some price action to the board. Like there is a precedence of price now. You're not getting in and buying things for dollars on the cent and then, flipping it for $20 million. That's just, we're not at that point. But you are definitely early as a whole. So.
Yep. I think it's funny that you mentioned like the games. Some of the play to earn games aren't super deep right now. I had a talk with another core yesterday, like just for Sipher, right? Yeah. And one of the points we discussed was that a lot of play to earn games, because they could earn, I think that because they think their base makes money, they skip on the actual game itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's where when the first big three that really do both the gameplay and the earn aspect well will be the ones that last. But the ones that just like, hey guys, come play our game, you make money, but the game's shit. That's not gonna last, I don't think.
Couldn't agree more. We actually were going through a bit of a controversial phase, and I was seeing it on Twitter where there were some people who were they were fed up with all of these, Atari-based, basic, like 80s developed video games taking off and selling things for like 50 grand. And I can I actually empathize with that because I agree. I've been a gamer my whole life. I've played games back when they did look like crap. I rocked my Super Nintendo as long as I could. And, I will say this, Mario looked great. But like a lot of other games on there look pretty bad. And it didn't really provide that quality of life, right? We're in the 21st century. It's 2021, practically 2022. We have a standard that needs to be met. I see it all the time. People, they just like drool when they watch a AAA release trailer and they think, I can't wait for an NFT game to look like that. And I agree. I'm 100% on board with you, Peak. I think that the game that does both of those right is going to be the game everybody's waiting for. And it could be Sipher.
I hope it's us. But like, yeah, so if you, because I'm sure you play lots of video games, I'm sure lots of the people listening play video games, right? Like, if you actually think about game making as a whole and not just NFT games, like, game making is damn hard. Like, making a good game that people want to play and making money back from it is really, really difficult, which is why even like AAA devs fail to do it. And to make that problem even worse, like everybody in the NFT space wants everything right now, you know, like they want the game next month, they want the first expansion the month after that. Just want like everything's got to be quick, right?
Yeah.
And the only way things can be quick is if it's simple and really easy to develop, which leads to a bunch of low quality-ish game, I would say. And I think that's the biggest problem.
I agree. Oh, by the way, I think we have a couple of these questions in the questions for me, and I'd love to elaborate
I wanted
on
to, yes, so I was going to get into it.
Nice.
So since we're talking about this issue about gaming and stuff right now, there's two that I think are really good. The first one is from Legendary J.
I like
Legendary
that
G with a J. Yeah. Why do you... Okay, so the return period of investing in NFT games is much longer than those PFP NFT projects. Why do you think investing in NFT gaming is a better choice? Any advice in when to cut a loss or some unworthy one?
That is a very good question. And I actually remember Legendary had asked this in the MTTM chat, and I really wanted to push him to ask this in this chat because I want to elaborate on this. Because this is an important thing for all of us to know getting into this space. I think there's a few things to take into consideration here. Very first is I'm a traditional investor. Many of us here may be or should also apply some of those, some of those regulations, some of those restrictions to themselves. Don't all in on something. You know, if you are thinking, hey, NFT gaming is going to make me rich, that's all I'm going to invest in. I'm going to YOLO into projects. Reevaluate it. You should be diversified to a degree so that you are not worried about a single project crashing and you losing your investment. So me, myself, I am invested in some traditional NFT projects. I do have PFPs, pictures. I do have a couple other projects, a few staking projects as well. So just want to preface by saying that. Second thing is NFT gaming. First and foremost, and Abu actually, co-leader of MTTM, said this very well in a single line. He said, NFT gaming is fun. And I agree with that. I think that it's not always all about the monetization, but the value overall of your time and your effort put into it. NFT gaming has been a lot of fun for me. It has also been an opportunity for me to go and realize myself in the world. And I think a lot of it has to do with the community aspect of it that is a lot more interactive than a traditional PFP project, because traditional PFP projects tend to be quite limited in the utility application of that NFT. Whereas something like an NFT game has such a wide spectrum of opportunity for people to get interactive. You have people who are coming in as theory crafters. You know, somebody in MTTM, at least for Axie, has actually spent weeks developing their own Axie builds. Like, it was incredible, actually. His name is Oriel. He did an art contest as well, where he released all of the parts, all of the stats for it, everything. And he said, hey, I'm running a contest. I want you guys to, imagine and realize all of these Axies that I've made in your own style. And it was probably one of the coolest art contests I've seen. This is a theory crafting side. It's really, really awesome. You've got the direct players who come in, the really hard bangers, top professional players, people like Plus One in our community. He's like a top 10 leaderboard in the world, always killing it. He also DJs while he plays. I don't know how that guy's got so much talent. Like, I wish. But anyway, you have a lot of opportunities to come in and be interactive. So that in and of itself, for me as a full-timer, even if it's not money making, I want to be using my time and I want to be enjoying it. So NFT gaming has given me that first and foremost. That's number one reason. Another one that I think is very important here is that if the tokenomic structure is correctly put together, NFT gaming usually provides a lot more longevity than a traditional PFP project. Because what's going to happen is that a traditional PFP project follows along a launch, hype, maintain hype, redistribute wealth, maintaining an airdrop system, having community alpha. And that's like, minus a few exceptions and outliers, that's kind of the bulk of it, right? And if you provide that, then your PFP project's going to do well. A really good project to voice to here is Bored Ape Yacht Club. They do a lot of this very well. They even touch a little bit more interactive with some of their scavenger hunts, etc. But a lot of it really, it sits within those boundaries. And if you do that well, it's great, but there's nothing else, right? Whereas an NFT project that is a game has that utility, has so much more. They can consistently update. They can add an entire new vertical to the project that, it comes in and it integrates to the existing project in a way that just makes it almost twice as big, twice as much opportunity for you to earn, for you to learn, and for you to have fun. So I think that NFT gaming, at least for me, has been a very good opportunity for me to come and earn as well. I decided to kind of YOLO into it, not with my whole portfolio of Ethereum, but at least with my NFT portfolio in the very beginning. I had a lot of fun doing it. And once I got a system down and I knew how to utilize the tokenomics correctly, I made a lot of money. Like just, it's the most money I ever made in anything that was an investment because I came in and I made the most of a really robust system. And that is something I haven't seen in a traditional PFP project where you just stake, earn airdrops, shill it, alpha, etc. There's just not a whole lot out there that you can do with a traditional PFP project.
I don't think I could have answered that question better myself. Amazing. And it's actually funny because what you said was so a small story. I think the mods know this, but basically originally Sipher was meant to be a PFP project only. And then one day I think Tim just called me and Tim was like, hey, like something's off. Like I feel like if we do this, it's not gonna last. And I told him I told him like, hey, I think that if we do traditional PFP, the bubble is coming. Like the big ones will last, but the rest of the PFP projects are just they're not gonna last. So which is when like at that point we just full on decide to swap to like full on game development. So I think that's one of the biggest decisions on why this project is still around today,
I agree with that completely. And I actually knew that, by the way. I found Sipher as a result of Abu going through just up and coming NFT projects. And I remember when he scrolled past Sipher, I saw the images and I was like, oh, wait, stop for a moment. That one looks cool. And he clicked on it and I was like, oh man, this art looks great. And nothing about a game, just the art. I was like, I like this. I'm sure everyone here can relate. When you go through and you're looking at NFT projects, there's a lot of them out there that are really lackluster in appearance. Like, nothing against the 18-bit or 16-bit or 32-bit projects. I know there's an aesthetic to that. But when you have something just drawn on paint and then sold for a few $1,000s because it's getting pumped up and hyped, I don't like that. It doesn't look appealing. But Sipher stood out. I was like, whoa, this is really, really high quality. And then as we got in, we were even involved in the first mint. My condolences to anyone else who was involved in that. The gas wars killed us all, I know. But hey, we've learned. But after that mint, we just stuck around. We enjoyed the community. I had an opportunity to chat with Tin and Alan, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then the game side came up, and I was like, I remember thinking to myself, was this always the plan with Sipher? I wasn't against it, but I was like, wow, I didn't get into this thinking this. And I agree with you. The reason why it's not around today, I think it'd be around today. I think the reason why it's so successful today is because you guys went about making that decision. And I respect it. I'm very happy that you made that decision.
Are we? Okay, so that's the question from Legendary G. The way he spells his name makes me stutter. Sorry. So the next question from Wealthineer. Clearly MTTM members are all here. What do you think about P2E games that focus mainly on attracting scholars and not players that play just for fun?
Ooh, so quick disclaimer here. Wealth and I have had this conversation before. So I think he put this out there, wanting this to be communicated. But Wealth, I appreciate it. He's one of our specialists, by the way, in MTTM. Very smart guy. Okay, so I think that, and I want to start by saying this is just my opinion, right? Like I'm not 100% right here, but this is my opinion and it's been constructed from a lot of experience. I think as a gamer and an investor, there are two things that really stand out here. When you look into the tokenomic structure of just providing value for scholars, what happens is you essentially have a money in, money out flow that needs to be maintained in order for the scholars themselves to keep earning. We see this at the moment with a few games. Axie is one of them, where people are not as much playing it for fun, enjoying it and investing in it because they want to, but more because it's a job. And at that point, all of the success lies on the numbers. what is SLP at? What are Axies selling at, etc.? How much are people breeding? And that in and of itself is the metric of success. Nobody's going, hey, this season was great. The balance changes are awesome. We're all happy that, Scarab is stronger, etc. All they're looking at is the numbers. And that can be very unhealthy sometimes. It can create a lot of poison in a community. So I think that from a psychological standpoint is big.
Sorry.
No,
no, I think not that it can be. I think it just is very toxic because
it really is.
Yeah, because I've had this discussion with my team internally, right? Like I said that like I know we're taking a long ass time, but if the only reason people play is to earn and the only way they earn is more people join, at a certain point that stops.
Yep.
Right, and that's just when your project goes to shit.
Couldn't agree more. And I know you guys have thought that because I've had that chat with all of you guys before, and I love it, by the way, that you understand that, because I do also think there's another thing that comes into play here is once you've structured that and your growth is based on that, you're kind of stuck in that. You know what I mean? It's hard to get away from it until you provide enough of a product for people to change their opinion on it, which once you have a precedent set is much harder than setting that from square one. So yeah,
I agree completely.
I'm very happy with you guys doing that. But then the flip side. Go ahead.
No, sorry, go. Please finish your point.
I was going to say the flip side is one of the things we have to understand here. Use traditional gaming, even mobile gaming. Actually, I want to use mobile gaming because it's the best example. When people come in and they enjoy something, they will continue to spend money on it because there is a monetary value associated with their time. So people will come in to make the most of their time. And I think that that's something that an NFT game needs to perfectly capture in order to have sustained longevity in the game. If you have people coming in and wanting to purchase or wanting to spend money on the game and in the ecosystem because they enjoy it, and they consistently do that on a regular basis, think of, Clash of Clans, think of Guild Wars, think of, anything, Hero Defense. People are regularly spending a lot of money on that game, even though there is no return on it. So what we have to do is flip that dynamic so that the same interest, the same value is provided to the same demographic, but then there is a monetized factor to it. So your time is monetized. And of course, that's hard to balance because anytime you put money or earning into something, it's going to create, it's going to create some sort of emotional connection to that earning. But even still, I continue to spend on something. If it, take League, for example, I've spent too much money on that game and it's only skins and champions, but I'll continue to do it because I enjoy it. And that's what I want to. I think that if we do that right, you're set. Longevity is there.
I think so. I agree. I completely agree with you that obviously some people only play, there's a group of people that will only play the game that earns them the most money. And I'm not going to fault them for that. Because to them, it's a job. But for your game to be successful, you need to both support that guy and you also need to support the guy that just plays your games for fun. Because that guy is the guy that now goes and buys all the stuff that the full-time grinder is making.
I agree completely. Completely agree.
If you see, I've been telling my Discord that I can't be having any more AMAs with you because I look too stupid next to you. So I gotta... I'm afraid this is the last one.
No, I love chatting with you. It's actually, Peekaboo, this is the first time you and I have had a chance to chat, actually, voice to voice.
It's the first time we've chatted, correct.
We've spent so much time chatting, via text. I know you so well, but I've never heard you before. So this is very nice, actually. We'll have to get together.
No, it is. I would love to have you on as a frequent guest because I think actually before this chat started, I went to the True Ciphers chat and I said, hey guys, tune in. This is how you guys learn about play to earn, right? This is how you guys learn about using NFTs, learn about the ecosystem, and all three verticals, right? Because you can't only know about one. You need to know about all three to really maximize your space in the ecosystem. Yeah.
Agreed.
Are there any other questions in that group, in that chat that you? There's one. When Lambo.
Oh wait, is that dad jokes? Oh my god! Just so you guys know, dad jokes is. You might know him. He was the guy who was doing all those goofy comics with all of our Inus in the beginning. I love him, by the way. When Lambo, dad jokes. You should already know, dude. I'm a Mercedes AMG guy. No Lambo's going to be in my driveway.
Well, that's disappointing. Disappointing.
I'm a huge car guy though. If anybody in here likes cars, jump into the MTTM chat, start talking about cars. You'll have me on a tangent for ever. I worked in the automotive industry for years, and I just love cars. Nothing against Lambo. I mean, I love Audi. I love Volkswagen Auto Group, but like,
You worked in the automotive industry?
yes, I did actually.
Was that before or after you were a pro League of Legends player?
This was before. Oh, sorry. This was after, but also simultaneously at the same time. So I played Pro League of Legends in 2014 to 2016, and I started in the automotive industry in 2016. I actually started. I was working at Mercedes. That was where I started. I got very lucky, but I had a background in sales, so I started working at Mercedes, and I was still playing League of Legends. But I'll tell you this: you're never going to maintain a professional gaming career while doing something like sales. I didn't sleep, and it was not healthy. So don't try and do that. It killed me. It really did.
No, that's why I was like, wait, hold on. Where does this guy find the time?
I really don't.
Okay.
I really don't. Okay, there's one other question here. I really think
Yes, please. Which one did you want to take?
Okay, so one of the ones that I wanted to hear, this one, because it's very, very important for me. And it's what's my fondest memory of MTTM? For me, I love MTTM. It's my family. It really is. And I think one of my fondest memories, and I think a lot of people can relate with this, but it was really, really wholesome for all of us, is, oh, hey, Dark Rovers are there, Abu, okay. Abu is one of my fondest memories, but I think one of my fondest memories was the time when all of us core members, Abu being one of them, most people don't know what he looks like. They always say when face reveal, etc. He's got this mystique to him, I'm telling you. If you know Abu, you totally understand. But it was late at night. We were all just hanging out, and then everybody just started opening up their face cams. And one by one, all these people that we have been spending, months with, building the metaverse, spending dumb amounts of money on really risky things and it working out or not working out and just growing together. One by one, we all just started to share what we looked like and really like humanize the experience. And it was such an incredible opportunity to just feel connected to everyone. It was like, oh, wow, are we all, we're all doing this. And then the best part was when Abu opened up his face cam too. He was like, okay, everybody gets to see what I look like. And that's when it really became real. I was like, these aren't just guys I'm spending money on the internet with. This is my family. And it just felt so good. I think that from that point onwards, that was when it really solidified in my heart. I'm like, I'm going to do anything for these people. And we're going to see that, we all succeed as a result. So just had to share that. It's my fondest memory. I absolutely love that time.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So have you had a chance to meet all the core team in real life?
No, actually just recently I met with Dark Roamer and Not Mystic from the Lunashi Academy branch of MTTM. They came to come see me in Vancouver from Eastern Canada. And then we flew down to San Diego together for the Comic-Con. That's where I was, by the way. I was chatting with you guys. That was a crazy experience. That was a lot of fun, but crazy. But I got to see them for the first time. The others, though, we're going to see each other next year. We're planning it. We want to have a big get-together. And we even want to run like a really big get-together for everyone. We're going to find out, oh, no, Dark Rover says almost died like 3 times. We did, Dark, but it's okay. We made it, okay? And, yeah, so we're all going to get together. We want to do a big get-together. When you do what we do in this space, it's like at one point in time, we got to choose one place in the world and just get everybody there. And that's what I'm looking forward to. So that's my final value point for all of you as well. You want to be a part of that big get together. It's going to be like the biggest NFT get together in the world. Join MTTM.
There you go. And all expenses paid, right?
Exactly.
All expenses paid? Oh, dude, now I'm going.
Except for the plane ride, but everything else is paid. Because I don't know where everybody's coming from.
Oh, wow.
Hey, for you, I think. Okay, Peek, I'll give it to you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I just want that free bag. You made a lot of fans because I think you've spoke a lot of points that people really do echo. Like people really do echo the sentiment of, and we agree 100%, right? And I think one of the like Kate was saying, she has a lot of Axies, but she stopped playing because it feels like a job, and I think that's the worst. That's the worst thing you can end up with if your game becomes that,
Agreed.
Because then you're no longer a game, and that's just kind of sad.
No, I agree completely. And big shout out to Katev, by the way, just so everybody knows. When I first found Sipher and I found out that Katev was a mod, she's one of the earliest mods that I know. She's been an MTTM member for the longest time, like longest time. So I think you were one of like the first 200 members in MTTM, by the way, Katev. And I reached out to her and said, hey, shill me on this project. And she was like, just went right into shill mode. It was great. I got totally sold. And then she was like, hey, why don't you chat with the founder? And I was like, what? And she just set it right up. Just perfect. I was like, good stuff. You're definitely the mod that we need. So shout out, Katev.
So funny story about Katev and her modding in the first season, in the Inu season, right? So we recently partnered up with a company, with Property. This has been announced because they're doing something for us in Sandbox, right? And one of the Property founders was talking to me. He's just like, hey, I was around since the Inu whitelist, but one of your mods, man, she made me wait a week before I get to whitelist. Guess who it was?
I know who it was.
So now I gotta apologize to my partner, being like, "Oh shit, I'm so sorry, man. Like, oh god, like I didn't know. I didn't know." And she didn't tell me about this, right? So I just got blindsided, and this guy's like one of our big partners now.
That's hilarious.
So now everybody knows if you want a whitelist spot, don't talk to her.
Nope. Talk to Peekaboo. That's who you got to talk to.
No, definitely don't talk to me. I no longer give whitelist spots. After the Inu launch, okay, one of the things I love about the Inu launch was just how engaged people were, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's like a double-edged sword because like it can get really taxing on you when everyone's like, oh, I deserve this, I deserve that, And some people really do. Some people really did went above and beyond, but some were just like, hey, I made 2 tweets. Where's my whitelist? And that's a bit draining.
I agree. But that's not the case.
And that's one of the things I think that makes like pure PFP projects just a bit toxic because it's just all about that whitelist.
I agree. No, I agree completely. Actually, I had a moment when I was working with my community. I'd gotten whitelist for a couple projects, but I'm sure you can imagine being a community leader. It's hard to put that time in. I had one of my members reach out to me and say, hey, look, we got to get this. Come and get whitelist, this and that. And I jumped in and I saw what was happening in the chat. And it just clicked to me. I was like, this isn't for me. This is a job for people. It's completely disingenuous.
No, it is. It is a job. It is a job. It is straight up a job. And it's like, once you consider it a job, it just becomes like you acknowledge that it's fake. You know what I mean? Once you admit that it's a job and you're just there for the whitelist, it's just not genuine anymore, I don't think.
Agreed. By the way, Madara asked a really quick question and said,
I was just going to jump to that. Oh, yeah.
You saw it?
So Madara. Oh, no. So, scroll up. He has a much greater question, like a bit up.
Okay. I'm down to answer it. Hit me with it.
Yeah. So Madara, the whale that he is, number 1 rank 1 Neko.
So nice.
Would like to get max ROI on his Genesis. Let's say he has 100 Genesis at game launch. I don't even doubt. He's probably not exaggerating. Homie probably does have 100 Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I understood, my Genesis would be like a cloning factory. And if I want to loan to Scholar, I should do it with clones. In a word, with 100 Genesis, what do you recommend? With 100 Genesis at game launch and with some tokens, what do you think is the best strategy for me to max my ROI?
Yeah, this is a question I'm asked a lot, especially since I had to do this specifically with Axie. So let me give it to you in a real nutshell. And then Madara, if you want me to elaborate and actually work a little bit more on explaining some of the strategy, let's get together and chat more afterwards. But what I will say is, first and foremost, be as educated as possible. Don't come in with 100 Genesis and a bunch of money in no time and think that you can just put that money out there, put those ciphers in people's hands, and money is just going to start generating for you. That is not going to happen. It's really not. You have to come in as an individual and put time into understanding the game, the ecosystem, and what your scholars are going to be going through so that you can best realize and set up a system that will work. Because nobody right now has 100% outlook on how things are going to look and where you're going to be able to go and make the most money right off the bat. But what I can tell you is the best way to understand how to do that is to be involved yourself. Don't be an investor, be a part of the ecosystem. And even if, let's say you do it for 2-3 weeks and you just feel like you have wrapped it, you've got your head around it, it makes sense to you, you can clearly see that the path that all of your scholars, all of your managers, all of your members in your community are going to go through to see success, then you start to implement it, you start to connect with people, and you start to communicate with one another on best practices so that you can refine those systems. So the best way to do this is do your admin. As you're going through and you're figuring this all out, take notes. put numbers down, use Excel sheets, put it into play where you can actually visualize it and go back and you can study it. And once you have the data and you put that forward, the strategy will be there. You'll be able to create a strategy and work with other people to create the best strategy so that you can make the most. Now, I will say another thing too, is that in the very beginning, first to market is important, but don't try to time the market. Cost of opportunity is worth way more than just cost of investment. So if you are a whale and you have money you can spend, I do think it is worth your time to look at the opportunity cost and start rotating your cloning operation as soon as possible so that you can maximize the amount of assets you have to be able to go and expand your operation. So don't come in and just be like, hey, I gotta wait. I think prices are gonna go down. I don't want to breed right now or clone right now. Maybe cloning is really expensive. Get to it and get moving. Clone when it is expensive, clone when it is cheap. If you're building for the future, it's going to continue to scale. So that's a bit of a nutshell.
So clone is expensive. Don't wait, right? Just go.
No, just go. Honestly, start doing it right away because I guarantee you the cost of opportunity is going to outweigh the potential 10, 15% extra cost to your cloning that you may realize in the beginning of the game. At least that's my outlook on it. So I'm going to do that myself. We do it in Axie too. We breed when it is cheap. We breed when it is expensive. You continue to run that process, continue to take your notes and document everything, and make sure that your profit margins aren't tanking. If that happens, stop at a certain point. Don't just YOLO and be crazy about it, but don't underestimate the cost of opportunity.
I think it's actually, and now that you say it out loud, I agree with you that if you agree in the project long term, don't stop it, just pump. But if you ask that question to me at face value, I might have actually considered, just like wait until the price is low,
Of course. You probably, I've experienced it myself through Axie. One of the things I'm going to talk about here, and my community was actually getting very big at the time, was in June. June, a lot of my community members, breeding had gone down. People were not making as much money. And they said, hey, look, I don't want to breed anymore. I'm just going to stop. I feel like, the margins are getting lower and lower. And I'm like, okay, but do you believe in this project long term? Do you think that it's still a good idea to be in this project, or are you liquidating? They're like, no, I'm here. I just want to slow down. I'm like, okay, do it within your reason. Don't over leverage your risk because that is foolish, but don't just stop. I'm like, continue to run your operation, continue to breed, but just stay within your margins. And what happened was a few people quit, but a few people continued. And then we hit the bull in July. And all those people who continued, who had their operations rotating, the moment that bull hit, their cycle was still rotating. They still had Axies that were, accessible to be able to take advantage of that bull run. But the people who had stopped and were waiting for that trigger then got in the moment the bull started. And when they ended up rotating their first set, we had already gone, because everybody else did the same thing, we had gone into the next saturation point and their margins were lower because they just wanted to get in when things were hot. And so did everyone else. But if you continue to work within your system and your risk and you continue to run your operation, you're going to see that those cycles come in unpredictable moments and you're able to actualize them and really take advantage of them to the best of your ability.
Okay, no, I think that's very successfully put. In the topic of cloning, right? Because obviously Axie runs through like some big saturation problems, yeah.
Yes. Definitely.
So a question for me, like, what should Sipher do? Like, what lessons can we learn from that? From your perspective, like, what should we monitor? What should we look at? What should we consider when we want to make sure that it's always at the just right point?
Yep. Easy answer for me. Easy answer. I don't like to put this out there because I know it's super complex. Quality over quantity. That is how this works. Right now, Axie's biggest problem is that you have probably about 2,000 pages on the marketplace of nothing. Just absolutely nothing. Those numbers aren't even referential to the total supply because none of that is usable. None of it can be used. And that is the thing. There is no, there's no burning mechanism. There's no way to filter out and refine the circulating supply of NFTs to be qualitative over quantitative. So you're in this position where everybody is looking at quantity, and only a select few, MTTM was one, by the way, looking at...
You got second mate.
Oh.
Just rage quit the interview. Give him a second. He'll be right back, I'm sure. I've invited you, Guru. There you are.
Okay, can you hear me again? I have no idea what happened there. You know what the weirdest part about that was? is that like on my screen, everything kept going. But then suddenly I heard you say, "Oh, he's disappeared. He's ran away on us." And I was like, "Oh no, what happened?" I see people saying I
Okay.
really didn't like that question. Okay.
So you cut off at quantity, quantity, quantity.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. I hope that it repeated for you guys so you could hear it like a glitch in the Matrix so that you all know I'm actually not real. But okay, let me get back into that. So, as I said, quality over quantity. Just make sure that you don't just identify it and analyze it, but you have a system in place to actually perpetuate it. Give people an opportunity to prioritize quality over quantity. I think, and I've spoke to Tan and everybody about it plenty of times. There needs to be, I don't want to call it a burning mechanism because nobody likes to imagine, our beautiful Neko waifus getting burned, but
Oh,
a
no,
release
there will
mechanism.
be.
Because there has to be. Yeah, I know there will
Yes,
be.
I agree. I
I'm
agree.
100% on board with that. If you do that, I think that from the cloning aspect, you're going to have people like me, obviously. I'm already doing some crazy theory crafting about actually, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to keep that as alpha. You guys got to join MTTM to know, but we're theory crafting like crazy already.
What about me?
Okay, you already get it. You're going to be part of it, trust me. You're like
That's true.
secret, very secret MTTM. But
I'm also low-key the person deciding how the cloning works, so fair enough.
Oh, okay. So you're the person
sorry,
you don't want to give all the exploits to, is what you're telling me.
Since we discussed cloning, there's a question from Dad Jokes, and it's a question that's been asked a lot. Are all ciphers able to clone, or only the Genesis ones? And I understand that everyone here right now is obviously a Genesis holder, and I understand there's an issue that's very important to your heart. So I'll take this time to talk to the ones listening, and I'll explain why that yes, everybody can clone, but at the same time, Genesis will be the ones that benefit from cloning the most. Okay, and Guru, since you're here, if you see any gaps in my logic, like my system's completely wrong, then I would love to hear it. But basically, the way it works, right, is that a clone. Let's give them arbitrary point systems. Yeah, let's say that the strongest Genesis has a point of 100, right? When the Genesis now clones, it can clone a weaker or a stronger offspring. We call it generation 1, right? So generation 0, the Genesis, gives birth to generation 1. Now, generation 1 can be weaker or stronger. It can be anywhere from 80 points to 120 points relative to the 100 of Genesis. What this means is that Genesis will be able to make stronger clones. So they might not always be the best for playing, but they'll be the best for making future accounts that are better at the game, right? So now the question that everyone else obviously has is, oh my God, like if the clones can clone, then I'm going to lose my value because it's going to be diluted. Like it's not going to work. Like what? People just buy it from the other clones. I don't get my profit. But the system that we have in mind is that a clone from a clone, right? Let's say I manage to clone the perfect clone. I clone a generation 1 that is 120 points, right? 120 rating. And then I use that clone to clone again. That clone, the strongest it can make, the strongest generation 2 is another 120 points. And we will make sure that if you look at it from a purely statistic point of view, right? A Genesis will make better clones on average. So and remember that the costs of cloning are the same for both generation 0 and generation 1, right? So because the cost of cloning is the same across generations, and generation 0 will almost always they won't always make it better, but statistically they will churn out better clones at a higher rate. And what this means is that everyone will be pushing the vessel cores to the Genesis for them to clone. So the Genesis will get to benefit from the first explosion of player base from 20k to 50k to 100k. That will all be filled out by Genesis. And the reason why we have clones being able to clone is that for the eventual future ecosystem of the game, that is just a must, because we can't bottleneck it at only the Genesis holder. So that is the system that is combining both Genesis and cloning, but also guarantees that Genesis gets its priority in the slice of the pie. Okay, so if you guys have any other follow-up questions, either from Dad Jokes or from who was it? Or from Wealthineer, I would love to answer. Yeah. Is there a limited amount of time? For now, no. So what we're planning to have right now is that the cost of cloning is the same across the whole population, right? But if we detect that the number of clones are going too high, the cost of cloning will go up. So we'll make it less profitable. So that we don't get that problem of oversaturation that maybe a game like Axie is running into right now. And no, the Genesis value does not go down as you clone more times.
Ooh.
Do you have any follow-up questions for me, Guru? Or any ideas or any thoughts that you have on this system? I would love to hear your opinions on it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first things first, I do think I really want to double down and support one of your points that you mentioned. Clones being able to clone is important. One thing you have to understand about an ecosystem to succeed is that it can't be linear. It has to be dynamic. So if only Genesis holders are the ones who are able to profit, we're just going to end up in a CyberKongz ecosystem where all of the value is held by the Genesis owners, and people are going to come in and they're not going to want to be a part of it because there is no value for them. Yeah, they can come in and play the game, but at the end of the day, they're going to see all of these people who are profiting as investors, and it's just going to create this unsustainable price floor for Genesis, which isn't healthy for the game. So you need to have clones be able to clone. The second thing is, from a theory crafting point of view, there are times when I'm breeding Axies and my endpoint is 4 generations from my first breed. If I'm not able to clone clones, it's going to limit my theory crafting ability, and then you're not going to have a dynamic meta where, who knows, maybe somebody comes in and clones this really unique mix of different genetic qualities that ends up being a top of the leaderboard meta player. But you couldn't do that if you couldn't clone clones. If you were just cloning Genesis together and all you could do was just clone these pure genes together, you would just end up with just these random variants, predictable variants of NFTs and ciphers and gameplay. And that wouldn't be fun. That would get dry at a certain point. So I think that's really important. One thing I would like to ask you, and I'm very interested actually, because I want to know about this, is there any talks about potential mystic alterations to Genesis that might be attainable through, who knows, could it be coins, staking, whatever it might be? Have you guys thought about any way to provide some sort of opportunity for Genesis to gain mystic elements or mystic traits, or is that something that you're not willing to do?
Can you elaborate? Can you elaborate on mystic traits for the non-Axie people?
No worries. So a way to obtain a very exclusive trait or property, depending on what term you want to use, for your cipher to make it unique. So extremely limited. Let's say I've got a wonderful cosmic with a lightsaber and an astronaut suit. And that in and of itself to me feels very rare. But I want to go one step further because there's another cosmic that has a lightsaber. And I want to be able to, potentially have a unique lightsaber that has like an iridescent glow instead of a blue glow, something to make it stand apart. Is there going to be a way, or is there anything in the talks of being able to offer that to Genesis holders to make their Genesis even more unique from other Genesis?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
So what the plans we have for right now are for Genesis to be literally the factories of Sipher. So when this game, when we have this growth of player base, right? When the game starts and it goes from 50 to 200K, that is where we want our holders to get to really maximize their efficiency and their ROI at that point in time.
That makes sense. That completely makes sense. There's a lot of value in that alone, trust me. I totally understand that. But no, other than that, I'm good on questions.
So a problem that we have with that kind of thing, right, is that it's a, how do I put it? It's two things that go against each other, right? So you've got the game development costs and you've got the need to make rarity for the population, right? So for example, I would love, right? If resources were infinite, I would love to give all the 1/1s and all the full sets their own unique flair, like their own specialty that they could then clone out, right? But we are limited by the fact that game dev has to be cost efficient, and it's not cost efficient if we just put all this game dev for a small population of our player base. You know what I mean?
100%.
It just doesn't work for us, which is the problem. If I develop a really cool character that's super fun to play, but only 100 people can play it, it's not really worth.
No,
it's worth it. It's really worth it for those 100 people, and for everybody else, they're just looking and jealous. They're just looking on, being jealous, and it's not a good time for you.
I agree. And overall, it doesn't do well for the game because what are we all here for? To enjoy an amazing game, right? I'd rather that time be put to making the game more enjoyable.
Yep. So there's a lot of traditional gaming, there's like gaming precedents or like standards that kind of go against like the rarities in NFTs, but we have to push for them because otherwise it's really hard to have a sustainable project, you know?
Yeah.
If you make your promises too top heavy and only the top people get the benefit, it's just not cost efficient for you. And the majority of your base who don't have full sets and don't have one-ones just end up being like, well, this is not fun for me.
Nope, I agree. I agree completely. That makes sense.
And I love what you said about the CyberCons model. While it's great, it's a great NFT PFP model for a gaming model. It's not the best, I don't think.
I agree. I agree completely. No, thank you for sharing
Everybody, yeah, for sure. Everybody seems to want to be talking about cloning. So there's one last one from Dad Jokes, which is, since you said you might implement that clone cost could increase, and if that happens, doesn't that mean that after a while it won't be worth any more to clone the Genesis? Oh, okay. So what I meant by that, right, is that the cloning cost is across the entire generation, as in like across all NFTs at any one point in time. And that cost is adjusted up and down depending on the population. So if we see a trend where we're making too many clones for the current growth of the player base, and there's going to be an oversaturation, we're going to increase the cost of everybody. Right? So the cost for two people cloning at any one time will be the same. So if the costs are the same, the people that can make better clones will be the ones cloning, which is why I think Genesis holders will have that long-term edge over the clones. I hope that answers your question.
That makes sense to me. Plus, that's one reason why we got to keep things, you guys are going to be doing a lot of data analysis in the beginning. I'm 100%
For sure. For sure.
I don't envy you. I don't envy your data analysts at the beginning. It's going to be like 24-hour work.
Yeah, it's going to be... Oh, no. Sorry. Just to answer that Joe's question, we're not doing the Axie breeding way because we don't want hundreds of thousands of NFTs sitting there with no one wanting to touch them, and they're just there saturating the market. I don't think it's a great look. That's why I think that the burning mechanism is a must, that we must have it.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more.
So before I forget, obviously we have the Council of Nine coming up, and the Council of Nine, if for those who don't know, is basically a group of 9 people who get to decide which proposals go through to be voted on by the community. So if you remember from the Dutch auction, we set aside some funds from the Neko Dutch auction, which equal to about 70 Ethereum, to be used to put forward projects that could then help the scholars, the gamers, the guilds of Sipher, right? And the Council of 9 are those that would decide which projects are worth, like they're basically vetting the projects. They're checking the proposals of the projects to see if they're good, to see if they're worth it, and to see if it's worth spending the community wallet on. So Guru is, of course, running for it as one of the community leads. And if you would like to make a small, quick speech about why you think you're suitable for the role, then I'll head out after.
Oh, great. You're giving me this as the closing? I love it. So let's start with why I think I'd be good for the role. You all have got an opportunity to know me. You know that morally, my values, my outlook on everything is to see this project and see everybody within it succeed. So I have the best interest of everybody in mind. I've been communicating with people on opportunities for us to even improve things. I put it all the time in my community. I say, hey, look, I understand you might have this opinion on it, etc. Tell me exactly what you think could be a resolution for this. What is your solution? Makes sense to me. And I will go about seeing if I can bring this to the team. I'll see if I can pursue this, etc. I want to see this project succeed. But let's talk about me. I am a business professional. I know I talked about me being in the automotive industry, being a professional league player. This is years ago. This is stuff I did years ago. Recently, I have been, of course, the founder of MTTM. We are a guild-turned organization that has been very, very successful. So take that as precedence if you would like. I was also a professional consultant working in business, operational strategy, general just management consulting, and we did very well. I started my own company. We were $1 million company in the very first year. I have traditional business acumen. I have an MBA. When it comes down to knowing how to evaluate a proposal, how to put it forward, how to make sure that it aligns with what we need, to be able to actually succeed as Sipher, I believe that there are few people in this space who have the experience and the skill set and background that I do. I'm fully doxed too. Go ahead and check me out on LinkedIn if you don't believe me. You're welcome to go and see what I've been involved in. I'm very much around, and I've been very much a part of everything in the business world. So I want to see this succeed. I have the means to see it succeed. And beyond that, I mean, come on. You guys want to hear me talking up here? If you want to, all the time, hanging out with Peek, talking about gaming, talking about all the good stuff in the NFT world, well, the best way to have me up here more and more often is to have me on the council. Because then I'll be talking to you all the time. And I'll be keeping Katev in line so that she's not making people wait 1 week for whitelist.
Can you please? Because God, I had to deal with that. No more.
Yeah.
So guys, anything else? Any other things from you'd like to say?
No, beyond just thanking you all for being here, and you as well, Pete. It's been very nice to chat with you and everyone else. We're going to have to chat again, even if it's not in front of a big audience. I enjoyed chatting with you quite a bit. So, no, that's everything. Thank everybody. Thank you everybody for having me.
So I'll close. But I think that everybody has had a chance to hear Guru and his stance on the NFT gaming and NFT world. And the reason I brought it up was because I don't want the Council of Nine to be just people from Sipher. I mean, I would love to have like community members from Sipher, but I think that having that external experience, the external thought is really important to make this project really successful. So I would personally vouch for Guru as one of the Council of Nine members, which is why I loved having him on here today. And I really do suggest that if you guys are NFT holders, I can see that he's one of the most active guild masters. He's always here. He's always ready to answer your questions. So he'll always be ready to give you advice. But if you love the project as a whole, I really do believe that Guru will be a great Council of Nine candidate. That's all.
Thank you, Peek. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And thank you for joining us today. I'm sure the rest of I think you built yourself a small little fan club. So I'm sure you'll have many people asking you many more questions in the coming days.
That's awesome.
We'll see you around.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. We'll see you in the MTTM.
Yeah, so you guys, the MTTM guys are allowed to plug the MTTM Discord and Gen Chat real quick. And thank you again to Guru.
Thank you. See y'all.
All right, thank you. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.